Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I am excited, as always, to bring you another amazing C-suite leader. This week, we're very fortunate to have Bipal Sinha, who is the co-founder, chair, and CEO of Rubrik. They have just reached over 500 million in ARR and have raised over $500 million in funding to date. They currently have 4,500 customers, over 4,500, including Citibank, Estee Lauder, Home Depot, and many more names that we all know. Eager to learn more about the company, about the cybersecurity industry in general, and of course, what makes Bipal Sinha such a great leader. So thank you. I'm going to just bring you to the fore. Great. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Karen.
Yeah, terrific. So I would love to just start with sort of an overview of Rubrik, sort of what does it offer? Yeah, just a little bit about the company itself.
Rubrik is a cybersecurity company. We help our customers attain cyber resilience. What it means is that they are able to continue to operate their business even in presence of cyber attacks and breaches, which are inevitable. We have over 5,000 customers around the world, and as of early last year, we had announced over 500 million in subscription ARR. We continue to grow rapidly. Again, we are the last line of defense between attackers that are out to do ransomware attack, double extortion ransomware, and the businesses and governments around the world who wants to continue to operate the business as if cyber attack has not happened.
Yeah. Wow. So you've just reached your 10th anniversary, I believe, as a company. You've seen really tremendous growth, as we were both just commenting on. I'm curious, how have you grown and sort of led a global team through this tremendous growth that you've had?
Yes, the Rubrik turned 10 years old last month. And in this last 10 years, Rubrik has had this vision to transform the cybersecurity industry from purely focused on prevention or stopping of attacks to this new future where attacks are inevitable and people should assume attacks. And how do you continue to operate the business? And we really built a comprehensive data security platform to attain this goal of cyber resiliency. And what we are doing is we are transforming the legacy backup and recovery into a data security platform to deliver cyber resilience. And this journey is this vision, this journey is not just a technological journey, it's the journey of building a culture, building people, cultural context so that we can all align to really deliver to our customers where they can actually have peace of mind and confidence as they are digitizing their business, as they are delivering more digital products and services to their end customers.
Can you give me an example? So I want to talk more about the numbers from the survey in just a moment, but so everyone gets attacked. I think that's well known and experienced today. But what happens when someone is attacked when they're using the Rubrik platform?
So if you think about a typical enterprise business, they have bought 60 to 80 different tools to stop attacks. But they have not been able to stop attacks because you can't prevent the unpreventable. So they are having a strategy of assuming attack and continue to operate the business upon an incident or upon an attack or a breach. Where Rubrik comes in is we deliver cyber recovery and cyber resilience. So what happens is when an attack has happened and data is compromised, we make sure that data is recovered with clean data and the customers are able to restart their services as quickly as possible to again deliver to their end customers. You know, in the business, digital trust is important. And
Yes.
digital trust comes from the availability of the digital services that businesses deliver to their end customers. And Rubriks make sure that digital service is up and running even after the attack.
All right. Can you, well, let's talk about this survey for a bit because I think these numbers are just astounding and I'd like to make sure people hear them. So you have a survey that you ran last year where you reported that 98% of IT and security leaders experienced some kind of cyber attack. 52% suffered a data breach, 51% dealt with some ransomware, and that by 2025, you expect cybercrime business to be worth $10 trillion. So I just want to say that again, 98% have been attacked. I found those numbers astounding, even though I know that many of my clients certainly have and are currently experiencing attacks. But the numbers are just astounding. So was there anything in this report that surprised you, or is it sort of more fuel for the fire in terms of making sure that your own products are able to support organizations as they deal with this?
We all know that the data is growing, but the volume and velocity and variability of data growth has been like mind-boggling. If you look at the data growth, folks are projecting 7x in terms of the data that they have to secure and manage in the next 5 years. And majority, if not all of the IT leaders are saying that the data growth is far surpassing their ability to secure the data. And so if you think about data being the most critical asset of every organization, data is the lifeblood, call it oil, call it whatever. If folks cannot secure that data, if they cannot have confidence in terms of the integrity of the data, what use is AI or business intelligence or all the investments that they are making on top of the data to deliver business outcome? Because it'll be garbage in, garbage out. So having the security of the data, having the integrity in the data, having the confidence that they are able to continue to run their services even in presence of cyber breaches is what is top of mind for all business leaders. And this is where the cybersecurity industry is shifting. For far too long, it has focused on building taller walls and wider moats in the hopes of stopping attacks. But again, you can't prevent the unpreventable. Businesses have to think about cyber as the necessary friction in their digital business. And how do they contain the friction? How do they continue to operate the business even in presence of attacks and breaches and deliver digital trust, digital services to their end customers?
I think you mentioned a really important concept there I hadn't thought about particularly, which is the increased variability of the types of attacks that companies are getting, which goes to the point of no matter how high you build the walls or how wide the moat is, there will be yet another way to get into the businesses. And so there really is no stopping what's going on. It's just a matter of how do we deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what is happening around us, this AI, particularly generative AI, is both friend and a foe for the cyber
Yes.
defenders. Because if you think about financially motivated attackers, they are using AI to again create more attack cores, to create more pathways into organizations. And defenders have to fight fire with fire. They need to now use AI because attacks have gone beyond human comprehension. You cannot just have human connect the dots because again the data is in your private data center, data is in your cloud, data is in the multiple of SaaS applications. The surface area is so big that humans cannot comprehend the correlation, causation of all the sorts of cyber activities that are happening. So they need to deploy AI, but the challenge remains that the attackers have to be successful once, and the defenders have to be successful 100% of the time.
Yeah.
That's why this is so asymmetric. This warfare is that they need to assume that something will happen, things will get in, attacks will be successful. And they need to have a strategy of cyber recovery, cyber resilience. And this is where Rubrik is driving the cybersecurity market.
Yeah. And how are you using AI to do that?
We use AI in multiple ways. We have been using AI for a very long time in our data threat engine. So what we have done is a unique architecture of bringing data metadata and data threat engine cybersecurity together in a single software platform. But that was built with a predictive AI in mind, where we actually look at all the patterns of data changes, data evolution, entropy, and figure out what is happening to the business data. But we are also leveraging generative AI for AI data defense and recovery. If you think about, again, volume variability of the data, the defenders have to apply AI to understand and correlate all sorts of threats. And that's why we built Ruby, which is our AI data defense and recovery platform, to correlate the outcomes of multiple data security products that we have to be able to deliver in plain English an outcome for our customers, such as threat hunting and monitoring, cyber recovery, And this is where we are driving the generative AI. So we are doing both predictive and generative.
Great. Yeah, I know AI anyway is like the theme for the current year, but I think most successful companies in this space, including yours, have been using it for some time. You didn't just turn it on in the last few months, so there's a platform there that takes advantage of it. So we have cyber attacks; they're inevitable. We need a strong defense against those, and you're in a place where you're able to deliver that well today. It sounds like. What do you see as the sort of the bigger trends in the industry going forward?
I think finally the people are waking up to the data security, because again for far too long people were focused on infrastructure security, whether it's for server, network, endpoints and all of that. Now people are focused on data because they have fundamentally understood that if their data is secure and available, they can restart their services and they can continue to operate in the business. So, but the cyber attackers have also understood that data is critical because data is exploding in terms of volume. There is a lot of regulations on the data. That's why the data attacks are also increasing. In fact, what used to be just a plain simple ransomware attack now have become double or triple extortion ransomware, where they are not only encrypting your data but also exfiltrating the data and asking for ransom to not publish the data publicly. So the businesses have to now think about how do they reduce the surface area of their data and have the ability to have remediation on the data, what we call recovery of the data. So they need to have posture of the data and they need to have recovery of the data. And the combination of the two, posture and recovery, is the full cyber resilience. That's where businesses are evolving to. That's where cyber strategy is evolving. We are actually transforming this backup and recovery market into the cyber resilience market through this data security platform by delivering both cyber posture plus cyber remediation recovery.
Yeah, great. And of course, this word resilience is is sort of key, I think, to everything that's going on in this industry today. I want to I want to look now a little bit at sort of you and your leadership, this organization. Maybe we could start with what led you to found Rubrik 10 years ago.
The idea of building Rubrik was to give a new direction to cybersecurity industry, because we fundamentally understood that the cloud has made infrastructure fungible, because that's why you don't own it, you rent it from the cloud. But data is the most critical asset of every organization. You can't recreate data, you can't rent data. This is your core asset, core IP. And how do we deliver, build an enduring institution to create this future of cybersecurity, which is the data security, cyber resilience? And to build an enduring institution, we had to really think about people and culture context. So before hiring even the first employee in Rubrik, we actually wrote down our cultural context. And one of the most important aspects of our culture is transparency. Because if somebody comes into a new institution and we want to build the foundation of an enduring institution, we need to generate trust through transparency. We need to align people in the same direction. Everybody has to understand why their work is related to the bigger outcome of the company. And to achieve that, we had to set an example. And what we did was we started doing open board meetings where every employee of the company was invited to board meetings. They could all see what are the opportunities and challenges of the company and how are we overcoming those challenges. So it really reduced the communication friction. It aligned everybody in the same direction. It removed the political things that are happen in organization where people actually gain political power by wielding control on information, which we actually
Information.
set
Yeah.
free because everybody had the same information, and that really set the trajectory of Rubik. That's the one of the top reasons for our success was this cultural context that enabled people to do their life's best work.
I love that you did this prior to hiring people, because that way when leaders come in the organization, they know this is expected of you. And if you can't buy into a culture like that for whatever reason, this is not the place for you. I find that remarkable that you have that kind of transparency in the organization.
See, the issue is that, again, it's like launching a rocket. If you're a few degrees apart on the Earth, you're miles apart in the orbit. So, at the
Agree.
onset of the journey of building an institution, you have to set the framework, because you can't just paint these cultural principles 5 years down the line on the walls and expect everybody to follow it. This
Yeah.
is who you become as a company. The team, the culture that you set is the team you hire, and the team you hire is the company you build, as Vinod Khosla says it. It is so important to make sure that we all understand why are we here, what is the ultimate goal, and who are we working for. And one of the things that we actually did through transparency was to ensure that everybody is thinking about not making their managers happy or me happy, but make the company happy. So everything was aligned to the success of this institution that we want to build, which is bigger than all of us.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I can imagine that some people come in the company and aren't able to live that mantra, uh, and that you have to, the other thing that you have to have are consequences, right, for people who are unable to have the behaviors that that kind of culture demands.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no principles without cost. Because if it was no cost, then anybody can have anything.
Right.
So the cost is that how do you ensure that everybody is aligned to it?
Hmm.
And if somebody is misaligned to this, or not the right fit in this culture, how do we ensure that we find the right solution for it? And we have been very, very firm on it from the very beginning, that we want to create a cultural context and making sure that everybody who comes into Rubrik adheres to the cultural context and enhances it. Because as founders, four of us, we set that cultural context, but this company will last longer than our professional careers. So how do we ensure that there are people who join the company who has the ambition to not only take the culture forward, but also continue to enhance it with the same principles?
Yeah, I love that. As my friend and colleague Dory Clark says, you're really looking at the long game when you think about how is this going to survive our careers. You're also known, I think, for taking risk. Taking risks is your mantra. How do you balance risk and reward? How did you come to have that as a mantra? How does that play out in your life?
I think fundamentally many people get the risk wrong. Risk is not the one act of doing something. Risk is what happens after the act is done. So act could be starting a company, could be starting a new product, launching a new product. All of that is risky activity. But risk is not in launching that. Risk is not in starting something. But the risk is what do you do on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 to mitigate that risk. And if you are not doing all the activities to maximize the opportunity and mitigate that risk, then the risk is a huge risk. So you need to understand why you are taking risk, what is the outcome you are driving, and what are you doing to mitigate that risk. And that's where we focus on in Rubrik. We don't obsess about the act of taking risk, because anybody can start a company, but making the company successful is risky. And this is where all the energies we put in. So we have this thinking about in maximizing the input rather than obsessing about outcome.
Great. What are some, or what is even a current risk that you're taking?
I mean, if you look at Rubrik, we are charting a new course in terms of the pushing the ball forward for the whole cyber resilience data security space. We are breaking new grounds. And for example, when we launched Ruby, which is the AI data defense and recovery, it is a first product of its kind in the cybersecurity industry to deliver the cyber outcome through natural language, where people don't have to learn the modules that Rubrik sells. They only need to understand what is the outcome they want to drive. So all of these thinking about what is the next and how do we keep ourselves 2 miles ahead of our customer, not 200 miles because they can't see it, but 2 miles
Right.
ahead of the customers and constantly positively surprise the customer is the risk that we take every day. The new products we launch, the new ideas that we bring in, the new ways that we are educating the market, the new research we are doing that brings in a perspective that allows us to again help the customers as they are digitizing more, as their confidence in their own digital product delivery, digital trust increases. Rubrik is all about taking risks.
I see that and hear that. I think in almost everything you've said since we started our conversation, it's clearly a big part of you. A subject that I'm particularly interested in is how leaders deal with ambiguity. I think a comfort with ambiguity is one of the core competencies of success for leadership in companies that are in hypergrowth mode, as you've clearly been, because we don't know what's coming next, right? We plot a path, we make plans. It is never a straight line. How do you deal with the ambiguity that it's inevitably part of senior leadership?
See, the ambiguity is painful if you are always looking at the outcome. Because then, since ambiguity is ambiguity, you cannot have a through line to the outcome. And if you obsess too much about the outcome, then ambiguity becomes huge because it becomes unsurmountable.
Yes.
So the way I think about this is that how do we maximize all the opportunities that we have right now, today, in this moment? Because if you take advantage of every opportunity that you have in this moment, the future will become the sum total of all the maximizing of input that you are doing, which will solve for the outcome that you are trying to build. Because look, every moment is new. We have no idea what will happen next moment. So instead of worrying about what is the next moment, how do we maximize the set of activities that we are doing right now? And that's all we do in Rubrik. We don't measure ourselves with the outcome, we measure ourselves with the input.
Yeah. So being present to what exists and taking some action on that.
Exactly.
So my final question for you has to do with your career and sort of how you knew when you knew you'd be successful. The tagline for my consulting business is up and to the right, because that's the spot on the 2x2 matrix where we always want to be, is that upper right-hand quadrant. Was there a moment in your career when you knew that you were moving up into the right, when you were on a sort of a pathway or direction to be successful?
I don't set any kind of goal or outcome that I'm looking for
Mm-hmm.
because I have a fundamental belief that we are all prisoners of our own imagination. And our imagination is influenced by culture, brought up, conditioning, and we don't know what is our potential. So when you don't know what your potential is, why not maximize all the opportunities that are in front of us and continue to push? One of the negative side effect of this is that you will always be dissatisfied because you don't have that through line to an outcome that you're driving towards. But your outcome will always be bigger than anything that you can think about.
Yeah.
And the combination of having this unlimited ambition plus the maximizing of the current set of opportunities, which I personally believe is the right way to drive in an ambiguous environment. The way to think about it is a visualization. If you're driving a motorcycle in complete darkness, would you think about what would happen 20 kilometers out, or do you worry about what happens in this current 2 feet that is in front of us?
Yeah. I love that as a response. I'm curious about the dissatisfaction, though. I think the only dissatisfaction there that I would see is and you could be dissatisfied with not having a goal or reaching a goal. But if you're enjoying the process and maximizing, as you say, the opportunities that are in front of you in the moment, those next 2 feet, if you can derive satisfaction from that, then maybe not dissatisfied.
See, the thing is that driving satisfaction is an opposing value. But when you are maximizing the moment, you can't look for satisfaction.
Yeah.
And you can only maximize if you are dissatisfied. So the satisfaction is not knowing the outcome. The satisfaction is in the maximizing the moment and being dissatisfied.
Yeah. Got it. All right. I will call that a Zen philosophy in my world. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I appreciate you being with us today. I think there's so much to learn, both from Rubrik as a business, products, and certainly from your leadership. Again, wishing you and your team the very best. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Karen. Much appreciated.